Hey everyone, Kelly Hilton, Director of Technology for the San Ramon Valley Unified School District here. And I am here to showcase on this week's Tech Talk, one of my most favorite high school teachers, Samantha Goodman. She's going to be talking to us about ClassCompanion. And if you haven't seen our show before, what we do is invite teachers to come online and share with us how they're teaching with technology. So she's going to tell us everything about how she is leveling up feedback with ClassCompanion. So welcome to the show, Sam. Tell us about your classroom and about your career and the context of your world as a teacher.
Yeah, so my name is Samantha Goodman. I'm an AP World History teacher and also Ethnic Studies teacher. And ClassCompanion has been a fantastic tool to really help me help support my students. I have about close to 100 AP World students this year, and there are several other AP World History teachers who also use this tool. And we really use it for writing feedback to help support our students so that they get that instant feedback and there's that growth mindset that we have. And it's been a really, really helpful tool in our career so far. So I'm excited to talk about it today.
Awesome. Can't wait to get right into it. Before we start, I want to talk a little bit about our process in San Ramon. Before our staff uses tools, especially any digital tool, they go through an approval process to ensure that the tool has student data privacy standards around it. And so we have gone through that process with ClassCompanion. When it comes to AI tools, we ensure that none of our AI tools are using our student data to build their models. So that is the disclaimer before we go in. So Sam has some slides to share with us. She's going to talk to us about the tool and then give us a demo on how she uses it in her classroom. So let's see what's that.
All right. So welcome. Is everything good to go? You can see it on your end, Kelly?
It's coming through right now.
All right. Okay, so I'm first going to talk about why ClassCompanion. I touched on this a minute or two ago, but I want to elaborate a little bit more. A lot of times when it comes to teachers going through professional developments or hearing about ed tech tools, AI tools, it's hard to discern which one is actually going to be beneficial not only to you, but in support of your students. And this is where ClassCompanion has been really, really crucial in supporting my students, especially with writing, which is what I'm focusing on today. Feedback and grading writing is truly one of the most time-consuming parts of teaching, especially when you have hundreds of pages of essays to grade. And students, unfortunately, often get feedback too late to actually use it. And that's because teachers are giving really, really good feedback, but it takes time. So writing itself is very skill heavy, it's very feedback dependent, and that's where ClassCompanion kind of comes in and bridges that gap to give instant feedback to every student. It really provides students with more one-on-one support. So basically you can train an AI tool to give them that one-on-one support or tutoring along the way. And when you're in a classroom of, I'm thinking back to my fifth period, which I just had an hour ago, I have close to 36, 37 students. We're practicing writing right now. I've got 10 students lined up to ask me questions. We did a ClassCompanion activity and it helped kind of mitigate that issue a little bit where they could work with the AI tutor or get feedback from ClassCompanion until I was able to get to them. So that's all to kind of say that it doesn't replace you as a teacher. You're still the final evaluator and grader. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what ClassCompanion can do. So the first half of this professional development is me kind of going through some slides. I have some screenshots of how ClassCompanion works. And then the second half of this slideshow, I'm going to go through kind of a live demo so you can see what it actually looks like from a teacher end and also a student end. So ClassCompanion, you can create your own assignment and you can do so by uploading or building your own rubric. And based on that rubric, the assignment, the context that you give it, it gives AI generated scores and feedback to students. The great thing that you'll probably hear me say multiple times is it really supports student growth. And I've really found that writing can be very difficult for students, especially when you focus on the, you need to do this and you need to fix this. ClassCompanion helps with that because it supports multiple attempts by also giving them that feedback and revisions where you have that growth mindset. Another great thing about San Ramon Valley is we have Google Classroom, which is a fantastic tool. And it works seamlessly with Google Classroom, where you can sync your rosters, you can paste in a link, students have easy access to it, while also being or following all privacy policies as well. So ClassCompanion really supports that differentiation of instruction, and it allows for accommodations if you need text to speech or vice versa, speech to text, extended time. It supports English language learners. I could go on and on, but I'll show you as we continue on. So I'm going to first start out with how it works. So there are 3 simple steps. You add assignments and rubrics. Your students complete the assignment with instant feedback and coaching based on how you customize the assignment. So you can upload context/materials from what you've been teaching. So typically I will upload maybe a PDF or an article or some primary sources, or even my slides that I've been using in class. That way it's really catered to what you've been specifically doing versus just kind of taking a shot in the dark and trying to figure out what feedback it should give to students. And then it really gives you a lot of insight as far as data, how much time was spent, how many revisions, did it chat with the AI tutor, did it, after it submitted multiple attempts, were students improving, were they not? And this has been really beneficial for me because it gives me a brief summary of Johnny's really struggling with reading comprehension, but he does super well in identifying key vocabulary words, and so on. Today, we're primarily focusing on social studies, but popular subjects also include English, like I said, social studies, science, and foreign language. The only caveat to it is it's not the best for complex mathematical calculations, and I wouldn't really be speaking on that regardless.
Yeah, I want to interject for a quick second, Samantha. I mean, I'm just so excited to see how this actually works, but you've really touched on 2 important topics when it comes to integrating AI into your classroom.
Yeah.
One is that it's not replacing the teacher, and that it's just helping to operationalize a skill that our students need to have, which is feedback. When they have feedback, then they can propel forward in their work. And many times it's solving a problem for us, because many times we're wishing there were 12 of us in the classroom of 33 or 35 or 36, however large a classroom is. So it's multiplying you as the teacher to give them the feedback they need to enhance their learning. And secondly, you have to really shift your thinking around lesson design, because when you build a lesson in ClassCompanion, you're giving ClassCompanion the information, the data. You said whatever your lessons are, you're pre-building that. And then over the years, you might even know what kind of feedback students will need, which skills students typically need extra support on. So all of that is the design of the instructor. So the AI is definitely not replacing the skill of the teacher to replace that human connection, because it just gives the kids more touch points per se within a class period.
Exactly. And one of the cool things too, when you upload an assignment and you create it and you have it almost ready to go, you can preview as a student and type in a response and see what feedback you might get of how to improve, which I'll also demonstrate later on. But some great points.
Can't wait to see it.
Okay, so I'm first going to kind of go through how it works, just a step-by-step process, and I'm going to show you some screenshots that I have of how to generate or add assignments and rubrics. So there are 4 ways to add an assignment. You can duplicate from the library, and ClassCompanion was introduced to me by an AP psychology teacher who uses it for also feedback, especially in support of free response questions. We have AP exams coming up, so he really wants his students to get that extra practice when he's not available at 7 or 8 p.m. to answer an email, right? So he introduced it to me, and this was about a year ago. And I will say the content library on ClassCompanion has grown exponentially. About a year ago, I was kind of perusing through it, and I couldn't find too many things that applied to my curriculum. And now there are a plethora of different subjects, assignments, multiple choice questions, short answer questions. I could go on and on. It's similar to Teachers Pay Teachers, but it's free, which is great. There's the other three ways to create an assignment. You can generate with AI, so you can give feedback to modify the initial output. So you can put in your learning objectives, especially particular for AP classes. We have certain topics that we need to hit. You can cater it to what grade level and go from there. You can import your own assignment. That's the one that I usually do just because I already have so many assignments in my Google Drive that I just upload, and it uploads seamlessly almost, I would say, 95% of the time. And there's a couple times where I have to be a little nitpicky and fix a few things, but for the most part, I have not had any issues. And you can also just create from scratch and start with a blank form. So the way that you can see assignments is multiple choice questions, short answer questions. You could do outlines, essay assignments. All formats also allow you to add images or excerpts and then give students multiple attempts for it. So I'll show you how it might work. So you can customize assignments. This is kind of what I was saying earlier. Images, excerpts, and text is students can do multiple attempts. You'll be able to see every attempt, which has really helped me, especially in teaching writing, where I want to know, is this application actually helping my students until I can pretty much get to them in my classroom, or is the feedback not super helpful? And what I found is I see attempt 1, students submit it, then they're getting the feedback, oh, you need to expand a little bit more about how the Cold War tensions were really expedited after the Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay, a student takes that, they go, and then I see attempt 2, they're taking that feedback and putting it into real time, which has been great. You can set due dates, late submissions. You can also assign handwritten essays, which I haven't done yet, but students basically take a picture, upload a PDF of their essay, and then it turns it into a text. You can require students to answer questions in order or go out of order. And you also can control how many attempts they have, if you want the feedback to show, if you want the score to show. And lastly, you'll be able to preview an assignment. So all of this I'm going to show you. I'm throwing a lot of information at you, but that's because ClassCompanion can do so many wonderful things.
So amazing. I mean, really quickly, as a teacher, when you see the number of attempts on an assignment and how that varies throughout your classroom, how does that shift what your time is in the classroom with those students in the class? When you have that information, what does that allow you to do?
Oh gosh, I mean, I would say it allows me to pinpoint students who might need a little bit more extra one-on-one support. But what I found with writing is it's almost like it's a sport almost, where students need that practice and feedback. But because my time is so limited, I mean, my longest class period is 90 minutes, but 90 minutes teaching writing for close to 40 students is really difficult. And so when I see those multiple attempts, I not only see their writing skills become more advanced and they're able to pinpoint what they need to do, but it allows me to try to get all my students on the same page versus having these different kind of learning gaps.
Amazing. Yeah. So you can really see who's practicing. Like you said, it's like a sport. They're practicing, they're building their writing fluency, or who's having a hard time getting started, really.
Right.
And then you can pull a small group or create an appointment or invite them to like an access class or something like that for support.
Yeah. Exactly. And the cool thing too is, speaking of students who might need a little bit more one-on-one support, when you add rubrics, you can control what specific feedback is given, and what feedback is given to the students, I can also see as well. So I can take a look and go, okay, this person needs a little bit more help with their thesis, but their context is going really well. And so on my end, from the teacher dashboard, it will also kind of give me a summary, and it will tell me the score of where students are struggling. So I can easily just go to my teacher dashboard and go, okay, Johnny needs a little bit more support, Jane needs a little bit more support. I'm going to pull them into access, and then we can work on thesis statements and context. But these students are ready to go. I'll give them some more practice, and then also be able to give them some feedback.
It's beautiful. So, it's like you're in the mind of every student in your class, and then you can truly realize what you wanted, like the learning objectives you have put into the AI. So again, it's not replacing what the teacher's doing or or anything. It's just enhancing it and
Exactly.
operationalizing it, really.
Yeah. And I've also found when I first started using ClassCompanion, the feedback was almost a little bit too harsh. And I'll get to that a little bit later because I wasn't training it specifically for what my learning objectives were and what we were particularly talking about in class.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of goes hand in hand with the clear and concise wording. But when you write instructions, so a paragraph or a list for the AI, and you could say, only focus on the causes of the Cold War. Students should identify the ideological conflict, the development of the nuclear bomb and the secrecy, so on and so on. And you can also, when you use your specific instructions, you can also take a look, if you don't want to do that, you can take a look at the content library and see what other teachers have done. I've been doing that more often than not because there's so many great resources out there from teachers all across the country who are just making these public rubrics. And I go, wow, I didn't even think about assessing my students in this way. And I think this is really going to help them. And my students are going to go, Ms. Goodman, another thing that we need to do, but it helps them in the long run prepare for the AP exam.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're also modeling that for your students, the ethical use of AI. Like any person using AI should use it ethically by vetting the outputs and revising the outputs and ensuring that it's what you want to put out into whatever product you're working on. And that's media literacy and AI digital literacy. So modeling that for them, saying, oh man, I didn't like that first run of the feedback, but I revised it. And that's what a good AI user does.
Yeah. And you're going to love this in a couple slides, Kelly, because they can dispute the score with the AI. And I think, and that has been such a healthy conversation that I've had with my students of, okay, we don't actually agree with this. Sometimes it doesn't really align with what Ms. Goodman wants to assess. Let's talk about it. So I'll get to that in just a second.
I love that.
Okay, so sorry, I skipped a little too fast. The second step of how it works, students can respond with instant coaching, feedback, and scores. So I'm going to show you what it might look like from a student version. Now, this is not from my class. This is just from a ClassCompanion slide that I took. But this is where you can see that there is an image that you can incorporate. And question 2 is a short answer question. Explain why Florida might have a relatively high median age compared to others. So Ron Weasley here goes retirees. That's attempt 1. Okay, Ron, we need a little bit more information than that. So this is, you can see here where it says question, score, and incorrect. Your answer is a good start, but it needs more detail to fully explain why Florida might have a relatively high median age, ... Then you can really see if he took that feedback and decided to use it in his second attempt or not. And most of the time, students will take that feedback and go, okay, I want to do this. Another thing that ClassCompanion has that can be turned off as well as the feedback is Ditto, which is the AI tutor. And I believe Khan Academy has one. What is the name for Khan Academy?
Conmigo.
Conmigo, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have Ditto for ClassCompanion. And Ditto, if you have it turned on for the assignments, Ron Weasley can ask this student or this AI tutor, help me understand the map. Or if there's a specific word, can you remind me what the definition is of contextualization? So the AI tutor can chat with them, and teachers have complete overview of what students are chatting with the Ditto tutor. And ClassCompanion will also let you know, hey, Ron Weasley messaged me 10 times today about this. Maybe you should check in with him because he said X, Y, and Z. Versus Hermione over here only messaged it once and then she was good to go, which has been really great from the teacher dashboard. Another thing, this is another slide that I took from ClassCompanion, their professional development slides, because I do not teach any sciences, but I think it's a really good example of how it's able to be used across different subject areas. So this lab journal on yeast metabolism, this is where you upload your specific rubric, and then it grades the student's feedback or gives the students feedback based on what they're doing, and you can allow it to grade it. So for example, the first one identifies a scientific question. He didn't do such a great job at that, and it explains why he got the grade he did, and then the other ones are also the same. Now, students can dispute this, and then teachers are always the ones who give the score at the end of the day. This is just the suggested score from ClassCompanion. More often than not, I use it as a feedback tool, but you can use it as either or and just to see. So for example, this is a handwritten option. So this test student basically uploaded a written response, and ClassCompanion put it into the text, and she's being graded on thesis, contextualization, evidence. So I can see here at the bottom, student disputed the score about the evidence, and I can go into detail there, and it's settled. And then I can go back and see when the student did dispute it, were they just doing it because they wanted more points, or were they actually onto something here and were they marked off as wrong, which has been really good to have that healthy dialogue with students about that responsible and ethical use. And then at the end of the day, I can also overrule the score. So if I do have my students do a graded essay or short answer question on ClassCompanion, it'll always kind of be overridden, or I'll agree with the ClassCompanion score. It's either or.
Do you have a lot of students who dispute or have comments?
Yes. I would say maybe about 75% of my students will dispute the score, which I think is so healthy, especially in developing not only their historical thinking skills, but their argumentative skills, because it inherently is also preparing them, not just for the real world, but for our AP exam and essays where they're pulling from pieces of evidence and really having to show me what they're writing. And that shows me not only that they care, but they really want to learn too, and they get passionate about it. And it's fun to see them excited about it.
What excites me too is those would all be emails in your inbox.
Exactly.
On the contrary. So it's right here for you, and then you can review it and check, hey, this is pretty accurate and this is why, or you know what, I'm going to rethink that. And it's really building that relationship with your students and that environment and culture of taking risks and having dialogue and questioning things.
Yeah, exactly. And I found that writing can be such a daunting thing. I mean, where do I begin? How do I make my essay flow? I have to incorporate 4 pieces of evidence and analyze this. And I think that this kind of, I've noticed that there's a little bit less stress when we talk about this, or when I introduce this, because it allows them for those multiple attempts. They know they can dispute it. It's not a one and done type of thing. So it's kind of giving them those extra steps to support them.
Excellent. I love that.
This is just an example of a multiple choice question. So it also can provide students with feedback for multiple choice answers if they're incorrect, which has also been helpful in my class, because when we go through multiple choice assessments, there's always questions of, wait, why is this the way it is? And you can always turn off feedback, but this is just a multiple choice example. Okay, last but not least of how it works before I jump into the teacher demo. So some of these things are incorporated in the premium version, and when I do the teacher demo, I will show you it. But when you go to your assignments, so for example, there's a CASP reading comprehension for grade 5, right? You can click submissions and you can see how the student did. So it'll give the score when they submitted. It will even give you flags of pasting or things of that nature. And you can take a look at summarized insights. So if we're taking a look at Ron Weasley here, he got an average score of 65%. The average time he spent was about 47 minutes. And you can also see, this is what I was talking about with the last one here, of the average AI tutor messages. So about 2, not too much, but sometimes if I see close to 15 or 20 from students' ends, I get a little worried, because that shows me they need a lot more support, or there's a reason why. Or they could just be messing around with the ditto tutor, which is the case sometimes with high school students, but you can see all of that too.
They're curious.
Yeah, they are. They're like, can you write this essay for me? No, it cannot. Okay, and then you can also view strengths and areas for improvement. So you can click show examples to see relevant feedback. So the strength here, Ron has consistently demonstrated good reading comprehension skills, but his vocabulary usage has not been super great. And again, all of this feedback and summarized insights are what you put into the AI tool. So what do you want to grade them on? What are you looking for in particular? How does this go along with your class standards, what you are doing at the end of the day? This is what it can look like, and this is if you sign up for ClassCompanion or if you already have an account. ClassCompanion is great because it gives you a demo class with Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley, but it gives you some assignments that you can play around with just to see what it might look like before you have your own classes. So you could click the assignment and the rubric and go from there. It gives you the average attempts, the AI messages, flags, etc.
What's the flag? What was
The flag is typically for pasting. So because ClassCompanion doesn't have a lockdown browser, it will tell you, and I can see exactly the full paragraph. If a student pastes in, they'll go, hey, this was flagged. A student pasted this entire thing in. And sometimes it'll flag because I have them pasted in from a Google Doc where we did a rough draft on. Those are the flags of just, hey, we should check about the ethical use of this.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Excellent.
Okay, and lastly, here are some ways to support students who might have accommodations. So you can change the reading level, you can support English language learners, text-to-speech, speech-to-text. You just go into the specific student data where I'll show you when we get to the live demo, and you can click accommodations, and then you can always update it, and it will apply to every assignment they do, or you can turn it off for a specific assignment. Let's say they have an accommodation for science, but maybe not for reading or vocab. It can be for whichever assignment you see fit that adheres to their accommodations. Okay, now for the fun stuff. I get to show you a teacher sample and live demo, which I'm really excited about. For AP World, we have been, well, we're wrapping up Unit 8, but we've been talking about the Cold War a lot. So you've probably heard me say some Cold War examples. So as I go through this, I'm going to show you what it looks like to upload from my end, but then I'll show you the content library on ClassCompanion, DBQs, rubrics, scoring, and feedback from students. So I'm going to show you that. Let me get to the demo class, and I'm going to share this tab. So when you get to ClassCompanion, this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to log in with Google. And then as I go through, you can see my class periods are added. I'm going to go all the way down to the demo class. Now I changed the demo class to 10th grade world history because that's what I teach. And I'm going to go on over to assignments, and I'm going to add an assignment. Now, this is where you have those several different options. So just to show you, I'll actually kind of work backwards here. Find in content library. It will open up. Did I accidentally exit that out? Let me open it again. There we go. Find in content library. Okay, so you can see my previous searches. I'm going to search AP World History. And then if I want to do AP World History, but I have been, let's say, I've been focusing on decolonization. Let me search that. Okay, decolonization, causation, that looks kind of good. Let's see what else we've got.
So basically you're in like a bank of lessons right now around
exactly
areas that you teach that's been curated by many teachers who use this tool.
Exactly.
Get through all of the lessons and see what you want to use.
Right. And so we're talking about, for example, this DBQ end of the Cold War. Let me go ahead and preview that. Okay, evaluate the extent to which blah, 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 blah. This looks good. And then I can go through and see that these are actual primary sources being used. And I actually used this DBQ last week, so I know what it is because I found it from this great resource. And I can click add to class, and I can add to my demo class or any of my other classes, and I'll click continue. And then this is where you can really pick what grade levels you want to do. You can click the standard for advanced placement, world history, and then it has all of the sources there. You can go on over to the AI settings. Now, sometimes I don't incorporate the AI tutor, just especially for an AP level. I want them to do a little bit more independent work, so I'll turn it off for this one. There's the dittos attempt, which I don't usually incorporate, and that's just an exemplary response. And this is where the AI context is super beneficial. So you can upload from your device, from a link, etc. And what I will do is sometimes upload articles or slideshows just to give the AI tool specific context as far as what we've been learning versus assessing students on all of the Cold War. When you go on over to rubrics, I believe, yes, so this assignment, because I used it from the question bank, it's already uploaded with a DBQ rubric. So I, as a teacher, am going to go through it. Now, luckily, AP US History, AP World History, AP Euro History, etc., has the same rubrics used across the board. So I'll go through this, I'll spot check it. Okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for, analysis and reasoning from sourcing. Okay, I'll go back. And then I can click publish, but what you can also do is preview as a student. Now, I'll show you that with the Cold War sample because I think it will be easier with a short answer question, but that's a way to find something from the resource library. What I'm going to show you now is how to kind of go through it from your own library, and this is what I do more often than not. So I'm going to click import. I'll go through my device. Now, I already have it pre-downloaded since I knew that I was going to be going through this tech talk, but I have a Cold War SAQ, and I'm going to upload it. And let me just show you what the Cold War SAQ is. So I'm going to share this tab. So these are 3 different SAQs that students, my AP World students, were required to do. And this is what I am uploading. So let me share this tab. So I'm going to click Import and Review. And I've noticed this year, it actually doesn't take too much time to import and review. Sometimes it would take a minute or 2, and now it's super quick. So it already has filled in the name of the assignment. It's done the grade level, the subject. I can click the unit and topic if I want. Those are optional. And sometimes I have to go back, like for example, it has a period before answer, right? Not that big of a deal. I'll go back and fix it. And then it has each of the questions, identify one way in which the results of World War II set the stage, going through this. I can also upload my own rubric and do those AI settings like I went through previously. But what I want to show you is the preview as a student. So, but it's making me add a rubric. So let me do that right now. So when I click add rubric, I'm going to go through my device again. Let's see, we'll do the generic SAQ rubric. It'll take a second, import and review. And it's going to take a minute. Okay. There's also an option to improve with AI, but because I'm happy with the rubric and I had already created it on my own end, I will upload it there. And then let's see, I'll go and preview as a student. That way you can see how students are answering this question. Okay, so I can go ahead and type in a response. So for this question here, identify one way in which the results of World War II set the stage for political conflict. I am going to, for the sake of time, just copy and paste this one way, and I'm not going to do proper capitalization because I will pretend to be a student sometimes. One way in which the results of World War II set the stage for political conflict during the Cold War was the secrecy of the atomic bomb. Okay, not a great response, so I want to show you what that feedback might be. And it's going to take a second or so, maybe about 30 seconds. Yeah, okay, here we go. Gave me a 1 out of 3. You made a good attempt by identifying the secrecy of the atomic bomb as a factor. However, to improve your response, you could explain the secrecy, how that contributed to the political conflict. And then I get a second attempt here as well. So that has been super helpful as far as giving student feedback, but then also seeing what they can see. And for the sake of time, I'm going to go back to my slideshow. So my final takeaways for ClassCompanion, obviously there's a lot that you can do, and to play around with that demo class would be my biggest recommendation. But the biggest thing here is teachers are already spread so thin for time, and we want to make sure that we are supporting our students. And this has been such a healthy tool in giving students instant, timely feedback, where I am still the final evaluator, final overseer of all of these things, but it really has built confidence with my students with more practice, where they can contest their scores, they can ask and interact the AI tutor that I've trained, and there's a lot more data and opportunities to assess students so that I can make sure that all of my students are up to speed and I'm supporting each and every one of them. So I'll end it there, and then Kelly, if you have any questions or clarifications for me, this has been so wonderful to be able to share this tool.
You're amazing, Samantha. I'm just like so impressed with everything you just shared. I just want to highlight what I observed really quickly, that how simple that was. You basically had a traditional worksheet with 3 questions on it that you're able to upload, and then it grabbed your questions, and then you're able to push that to your students, and then they can attempt to respond, and then it's going to give the feedback for you. I'm just thinking of all those years that I would add into my, tub and my little my storage tub of papers that I would drag home and grade, and then they would get it back a week later and forget about what the assignment was. So the level of interaction and real life feedback, and what we know about the brain as well, as far as learning, is often but in order to learn, you need to have feedback often and at low stakes. And so that neurology of how our brains work for cognitive growth is really built into this model as well. So I just loved all of your examples. I hope that those of you who are checking it out are inspired to try it out yourself as well. Samantha is one of our amazing early adopters of AI, an incredible instructor here in San Ramon, and I'm just honored to see everything that you've shared here today. Thank you for your dedication to our students.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, if you have any questions beyond this Tech Talk, please reach out. You can email or you can drop a comment. And we're here to support all of the teaching and learning that happens here and beyond San Ramon. Have a wonderful afternoon.
All right.